Hi, everybody. Welcome to our industry conversation on ensuring access to capital and financing for solar energy investments. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got, this is really a lot about greenpenny, of course, but I just want to say that if there are others that are in this space and want to offer their point of view on ways that they finance solar, we'd welcome others participating in the conversation too. We've got a planned programming that's greenpenny focused, but I just wanted to offer that in the beginning. We are, I think you know by now, day 3, we all have access to our cameras and our mics in this session, which is different than all the others. So if you would please keep yourself on mute unless you're wanting to talk with us, which we would welcome, of course. That'll just help with background noise. So thanks very much. As I said, we've got some planned questions that we're going to ask our panelists and share some information about greenpenny, but we will open it up for questions, of course. And in fact, we're hoping that most of the time is Q&A today. So there's a few ways to do that. You can, when I open it up for questions, just unmic yourself, or unmute yourself rather. And if you wouldn't mind saying who you are, where you're from, and then asking your question, that'd be one way. The other way is we've got chat, of course, and we've been using it all conference. So Katrina, who's our communications manager, say hi, Katrina. She's waving. We'll be monitoring the chat, and she'll offer questions to us too. And so if you prefer to do it that way, that's fine as well. So let's jump right into it. Let's start, gentlemen, with, why don't you, Jim, we'll start with you. Introduce yourself, your position at greenpenny, how you came to being passionate about clean energy.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Hello, Wisconsin. I have always wanted to deliver that line, so sorry. Yeah, my name is Jim Morrow. I'm the Chief Credit Officer, Executive Vice President for Decorah Bank Trust. We are the parent company for greenpenny. Greenpenny is kind of a subset of Decorah Bank Trust. It's our digital bank that's focused on renewable energy. Decorah, we are in Iowa. We are in the northeast corner of the state. We really aren't that far from Wisconsin. We're within the shopping orbit of La Crosse. Now, I got to say, while we are Iowans, some of us over here do have some Packer gear. So I will just make that point. Excited about the game here. So for the weekend. Personally, my education in renewables started with a home construction project, my own home. And I had a builder who had become very interested in green construction techniques and just started on his journey with certifications for green construction. So together we learned a lot in that project. He also got us interested in solar. This was about 12 years ago, I suppose. Subsequent to that, he convinced me of the economics and logic of it. We got our own solar installed. I have 7 full years now of solar performance from my roof, and I have yet to have a bill from the utility. All I pay is a $10 to $11 monthly hookup charge to the grid. That's it. And so I can personally testify to the value and the return here. The other thing I would just throw out there is that more recently I was able to do a car trade into a hybrid vehicle, which I really like, and I'm amazed at the mileage I've been getting. So that's kind of my story.
That's great. Thank you, Jim. Mike Ludeking, same question.
Sure. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, I guess I've been in banking for the better part of 10 years now, mostly in commercial and ag lending. Just started up with the renewables here a year and a half ago with greenpenny. Becoming more and more involved with different types of renewable lending projects and different projects across the Midwest. Now I'm effectively, I guess, running the commercial and industrial loan program out of Greenpenny, helping get the residential side off the ground here, as we are fairly new. But similar to Jim, yeah, I did install some solar out at my place here about 2 years ago now, and it's worked just tremendously. But before that, I mean, really, it goes back to about 13, 14 years ago. I actually took a trip down to Brazil and spent a month in the Amazon rainforest and really saw firsthand what was going on down there. And really, a light bulb went on, and I knew something has to change. And then, fast forward 10 plus years, we're sitting in a meeting here at Decorah Bank and Trust, and our CEO, Ben Grimstead, introduces this idea of greenpenny, and I was just blown away. It's I feel like it's our opportunity to do something for the greater good. Feels like we're doing the right thing here. We're helping push the renewable energy movement forward. And it's a growing industry. It's rapidly growing. So I think we're in the right space here. And just seeing this thing, explode in front of our eyes is really become, it's just been a great thing. So yeah, so that's kind of my story, Jason.
Great. Thank you, Mike. And I'm Jason McDuff. I run Greenpenny day to day, and I just came on board in the last few months, and we've done a lot of work to expand our offering, and excited to share a lot of that with you today. I have spent 24 years. I spent 24 years working for a very large bank, and became pretty uninspired towards the end of my career, especially, and so decided to take some time off. And I was lucky enough to, like Mike, to be able to travel to South America. And in my case, I went to the Peruvian Amazon, but also the Galapagos, Patagonia, the southern part of South America, and Argentina and Chile. And then I got to go to Antarctica. And quite deliberately, the group that I was with, we met with a lot of scientists and all sorts of expertise and focus areas, and glaciologists and climatologists and marine biologists and all sorts of folks. And you really can't come away from a trip like that where you hear the evidence of climate change, but then you also see it, and you get to hear the stories of people who tell you about what things used to look like versus what they look like now. And if we don't change, what they might look like 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So I came back re-inspired to do something about it. And I'm so blessed to have found Greenpenny, which is headquartered in a community that is where my family has been from and lived for generations. So I'm very fortunate and excited to be on this journey now. So, and we want to do our part to help finance a sustainable future. That's Greenpenny's mission. And we talked a lot over the last few days about how we also want to do that in a sustainable, economic, friendly way. And so what we thought we would do with this is just share a little bit about our philosophy, our approach here at Greenpenny. We'll open it up for questions, as I said. By the way, ideas, even criticisms, we're open to hearing all sorts of thoughts during this conversation. So please think about those as we're talking. And then, as I said, we hope that most of this is interactive and Q&A. So Jim, I'm going to start with you. And you talked a little bit about on your personal journey with solar and renewables. And I thought maybe we could start by talking about the bank's journey here too. We've been at this quite a while. So tell us a little bit about, how the bank became engaged in financing solar, and how are we approaching it today?
Yeah. I mentioned my own solar system. I'm not unusual. Mike mentioned his own. Quite a few of us at the bank actually have our own systems on our own homes. Decorah, we're proud to say, has one of the highest per capita solar adoption rates in the whole country. Certainly in Iowa, but basically in the country. We've been told that we have here about 10% of residential solar capacity in Iowa. I'm not sure how that number was derived. Wouldn't swear by it, 10%. But whatever the number is, it's very high. We are well known for solar adoption and renewables here within the state. In my own neighborhood, I can tell you about half the homes have solar, half the homes. Um, we have put solar on all of the bank buildings. Um, Luther College, which is our local D3 college, has two very large solar fields, along with a wind turbine system that they built. We have many of our local small businesses that are either have put up solar or are looking at it. And it's not just in Decorah, but in neighboring counties now as well. So if you weren't familiar with all that, you might very well ask, why is that? What happened? This little corner of Iowa where there's just a bunch of Norwegians, what happened, Um, and I would say that basically, like almost everything that involves human beings, it starts with leadership. And we've been very blessed here to have this happy intersection, I guess you'd say, of a number of pioneering progressive leaders over quite a few years that became interested in environmental issues. The family that owns Decorah Bank Trust, along with the employees, has been involved for years with environmental issues, both wind, solar, other avenues. Some of you know Larry Grimstead. He's actually on the line here. He's retired from the bank, but has had a tremendous influence in all this. He's dad to our current CEO, and Larry's led the way in Decorah with climate and renewable issues. But it's not just the bank, it's not just the family here. If you were on the call yesterday with the Winneshiek Energy District, which is now 10 years old, they too put together this model for working on renewable issues, environmental issues here locally. And that model is being duplicated other places now. Luther College has been very involved. They have become well known within colleges in the United States for environmental leadership. All this starts to build on itself. You start to get a momentum going. I mean, even in my own family and neighborhood, they've seen what I've done, and so they ask questions, look at some numbers, talk to more people, and then they get their own solar installation or working on other things with the home. So it's just this happy reinforcing thing that gets going. Having started with leadership, I would say. And I was glad to hear a couple different times with presenters last couple of days who point out that it's not should not ever be a political issue. And I tell my conservative banker friends from elsewhere in Iowa who kind of wonder what we're doing here. They shake their heads a little bit. But here's my answer to that. I said, what is more conservative than conserving, right?
Okay.
What is more conservative than conserving and being good stewards and taking care of our home, right? It just makes total sense. And that idea that focus on sustainability has been baked into the DNA of the bank here, certainly the community, but it's part of the bank's DNA and part of our mission and purpose. Now, we see solar, which is mostly what we're going to talk about today here. Three things. First of all, and I'm the cranky credit guy, right? I'm the chief credit officer. I have to tell you that solar I see as a great way to build business, quality business. We're bankers. Making money is part of what we should be doing. That's our role in the economy. But the second thing that we see as important is that solar and local distributed energy generation helps the local economy. It reinforces our business people, our consumers. Why export the dollars when we can keep it locally, and it adds to that multiplier effect in the local economy. And finally, and Mike mentioned this, it's just the right thing to do. And we feel strongly that similar to other companies that you've seen. Patagonia comes to mind, where they do the right thing, and it's a win-win-win all the way around, and into the future. So I just want to touch on a few things about residential solar for a minute, and then I'll let Mike go forward. We've been doing solar residential loans for over 10 years now for people right in our area. And now through greenpenny, we're moving outside our immediate area into our neighboring states, Minnesota, Illinois, and then of course, Wisconsin. Um, so philosophy on that. So for someone like me who's spent my entire career in credit, there's a couple things to get past in your thinking. First of all, these are not secured loans in the traditional sense, and sometimes we do use home equity collateral or fold it into a mortgage, but generally they've been unsecured loans for a term, anywhere from 5, 7, 8 years. We've used an evaluation of a person's credit history and cash flow, basically looking at a person's current utility payment and then working backwards from that to see what kind of a solar loan financing they can handle. That approach has worked really well. The idea is to substitute a loan payment for a few years instead of a utility payment that lasts forever and probably will increase over time. So this approach has made sense for most people. It seems to be working really well. I can tell you that the payoff seems to be for most people in the 6 to 8 year range. Kind of has how it's run. The portfolio has yet to show a delinquency over about 10 years now. In fact, our biggest problem, it's going to sound funny to you, but the portfolio of solar loans seems to pay down faster than maybe we would prefer. Heck of a problem, right? And another thought, since I put my own system in, the cost of systems has come down, right, by quite a ways, while the technology has improved and efficiency has gone way up. And so I would tell anybody that asks, there's no reason why you shouldn't look at this. It just makes total sense to us. One last thing before I turn it over to Mike or Jason here. We were with you all in Madison a year ago in person, and we were just super impressed with the conference at that time. And even though what we're doing right this week with virtual and all that Zooming is kind of interesting, kind of a challenge, but seems to be working really well. And we really appreciate the organizers of Renew Wisconsin for this chance to be with y'all. And we'll join you in Madison maybe next year. But in the meantime, thanks very much.
Yes, well, that's nice. And I heard it was really cold last
It
January,
was
right?
very, very, very cold.
Well, we'll be grateful to be with everybody in person again. Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about our residential lending program. And I really thank you so much, Jim, for just the philosophy, the general philosophy we use in our approach here, and this concept of, yes, it's traditional credit underwriting, but in this case, there's already money that is going to pay for utility payment that traditional folks traditional folks by I meaning banks, may not really appreciate or may not consider, and we certainly try to, when we explain it. The economics to our borrowers. So thanks for that. Mike, why don't we talk about, given you're our leader in the commercial lending space, talk about what we're obviously seeing demand grow substantially. You mentioned it, and it's projected to continue to grow. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about what we're trying to do in the commercial space, what folks can expect from us on that side of it with greenpenny.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things we're really trying to do is put together an outreach to partner with installers and developers across our 4-state area here, being, as Jim mentioned, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, and Illinois, on commercial and residential and industrial system installation. we have seen some demand, quite a bit of demand. I think there is a gap on the commercial side, especially. We have seen some folks that have financed residential systems with home equity lines, or just some other means to get those financed. But on the commercial side, it's a little bit tougher. Just from a banking perspective, it's hard to. Sometimes you just have to get a little more creative to finance some of these commercial projects, especially in Wisconsin now that some of this legislation has gone through with that you can't install it with a PPA. But there is a gap. We have a program for commercial projects here that we think has worked really well. We've definitely seen some demand on the commercial side. Whether it's a $30,000 or $40,000 array or a $500,000 array. We've seen all sizes and shapes, and demand has definitely increased on those. And then we're seeing some other things coming through, such as community solar garden type projects. We've done some equipment safe harbor. We've done solar garden development loans. So really, we're doing just about everything. We're doing everything from your $10,000 or $15,000 rooftop mount residential that you see to something a little more complex, like a community solar garden or a community solar garden development loan. And so, yeah, we're seeing it all.
Yeah, and I think, just to pile on what you said, there's a lot of difference still, it seems like, in the commercial space, right? So it does require, as Mike said, being a little imaginative and, figuring out ways in which a deal can make sense for the borrower and for us. And we work really hard to do that. And we've got really great advisors, including, lawyers that are really committed and have deep understanding to this industry, to the renewable industry, energy industry, to solar in particular, and have really helped us come up with agreements that make sense for all parties involved. And so I think Mike and the team, we try to do things in a productive way for everybody. We don't just sort of turn them away, right? We take every chance we can at a commercial deal very, very, very seriously. It's a really important part of our business. And then you want to add to that, Mike?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
You're absolutely spot on. You're spot on. I think we're more likely to, I got to be careful how I word this, because Jim is my boss, I guess, but we're a little more willing to take a little more risk, I think, than some of these other small banks are, especially interest rate risk on longer term type financing, getting out 10, 12, 15 years. And just willing to take a little more risk because, like we said, this is something that we're deeply passionate about. We believe in this. We think it's the right thing. So, and then the other side, Jim's hit it on the head, and he said, we haven't had any delinquencies with this portfolio. So we can afford to take a little more risk on these because we just feel that, we've had good luck with them, and it's a good product going forward.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Before we open it up for questions, and please I see we have a couple coming on the chat already, which is great. I'll talk a little bit about our philosophy and our approach on the residential solar program, and then and then we'll open up for Q&A. We hope to have some great discussion. We recently expanded our residential program, and on that side of it, where it's obviously we're financing consumers, there are banking laws that make it so you have to be a little bit more formulaic in how you underwrite them. So we have 2 tiers for our residential program, where for FICO scores, credit scores 720 and above, which is pretty good credit, we have 1 tier where our rate currently is 4.45%, and we'll go up to 12 years and 100% financing. And the way we do the 100% financing typically is because of the federal tax credit that is been sort of a stable feature for a few years in residential solar, and thankfully is going to be a stable feature for the next couple of years too, given the recent extension of the credit at 26%. we will finance 26% of the solar project, which by the way includes the installation and the things related to getting those panels on a roof or in the ground next to a home. We'll finance 26% of that project for up to 15 months with a single pay term loan. What that means is for those 15 months, while a borrower is waiting for their the refund to come from their income tax, they're not paying a monthly payment on that loan. They're not servicing it, is the bank parlance. And so they just, whenever they get their refund, whether that be 5, 6, 8, 9 months, up to 15 months, they just pay us back one payment. There's typically, a modest financing charge. 4.45% is the same rate for that. And then that part of the loan is done. And then for the remaining 74% of the loan for the project, we will finance that on a standard term loan up to 12 years. And there again, same rate, 4.45%. And that's fixed. That's not going to go up or down based on variations in interest rates or anything like that. That's typically how we do it. Now, we do have cases where borrowers would like to do more on a single pay basis, or they'd like to do 100% of it financed on a term loan. We will look at those certainly to see if we can't make that work for the borrower as well. And then the other tier we have, it's the only other tier we have, is a tier with FICOs between 660 and 719. So credit scores between 660 and 719. That's roughly 80% of the country. I'd say the majority, and maybe some would call the vast majority of the country, would fall into that space. And that rate then goes to 5.45%. So we only have two rates. We're getting feedback and we get questions all the time around other things like, do you have dealer hookup fees, or do you have double digit rate options for folks that we don't have any of that. We have a loan origination fee that is $50, and that's to cover some of our costs associated with processing the loan. There's DocuSign fees that we have to pay and others. So and by the way, because you're at Renew Wisconsin, if you have a customer or you yourself want to borrow for a residential loan, you just simply type in Renew into the notes section of our application, which is online, and we'll waive that fee for folks who joined us at the Renew conference. So that's our residential loan program. And and you heard Mike talk about, it's called duration risk in banking, basically how long we'll finance something at a fixed rate. We will do that longer, we think, than a lot of folks, and we'll do it at very reasonable terms because unlike other financing companies you might interact with, our source of funding is deposits. And, we're hoping with greenpenny that this model that we have where folks can vote use their money as their voice and deposit their hard-earned deposits with a company like greenpenny, get the same experience you're going to get at any other bank. Hopefully, you'll find us to be very nice and good customer service. That's what we aspire to be. But also, we'll waive ATM fees anywhere in the world, so you'll never pay an ATM fee, no matter who you use with greenpenny. You'll get great digital applications. Our mobile app is wonderful. Access to greenpenny bankers that you'll get to know because there's only a handful of them, and so you'll build relationships with them. And they're really great to work with too, and offer community banker type service. If we can demonstrate all the things I just said and successfully accumulate deposits, that'll just enable us to do more and more and more solar financing. And we could see a day where we get into other types of financing too. Right now, we're really focused on growing solar. So with that, let me open it up for the last half hour here to questions from you all. And I'll start with maybe if anybody's anxious to ask one verbally, we'll start there before we go to the chat. Okay, then Katrina, why don't we go to the chat?
Okay, absolutely. I'm going to just read this verbatim. I think she's got some great points here. This is from Tristan. I sell solar in Wisconsin for Sun Badger Solar. We have used a number of different lenders over the years, Interbank, Mosaic, Sunlight, Financial, Dividend, to offer our residential solar customers financing. However, when those customers ask for solar for their businesses, none of these lenders offer loans for small scale commercial applications for business. Is this something that GreenPenny offers, which I know Mike alluded to quite a bit? Since these are unsecured loans, why is there a difference between lending $100,000 or less to an individual for solar on their house versus lending the same amount to the business to put solar on their apartment building, dental office, etc.?
Yeah, I can take that, I guess.
Sure.
So, yeah, thanks for the question. And yes, we have been doing that for quite a few years among our local small businesses. And it's really approached almost the same way as a home almost. And I guess from a credit underwriting standpoint, I've always felt that, people that, and this includes small business, of course, the folks that are interested in renewable energy are by nature probably pretty decent credit risks. They're responsible people, or they wouldn't be interested in to start with, I guess is kind of how I viewed it. And that's actually how it's panned out, actually. So yeah, no, I guess the only change from what we've been doing for quite a few years is going a little further out from our home base. And that's what we're interested in doing through GreenPenny. So yeah, small business is part of what we want to be doing. Mike, anything to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, we are doing it. I'm working on these. I've got several in the pipeline right now. I'm working on a small loan for a lawn mowing business down in the Des Moines area right now for about 70,000. It's a fairly small project, but I mean, it's going to be set up similar to what our residential system is, or what our residential program is. Along with I've been working with another one that's out of the Dubuque, Iowa area. That's a small commercial. Working one out of Cedar Falls. That's a small commercial. So we've got several of them here in Iowa that I'm working on. I have been in contact with a company on one up in the northern Wisconsin area. So we're doing them. We do have to look at them similar to how we look at the residential, and we look at credit scores. We do underwrite the business a little bit. What industry are they? Have they been in business for a while? They're just some pretty basic some underwriting things that we go through on the commercial side. We do look at credit scores for the principal owners. So there's an underwriting process, but yeah, like Jim said, we're active in the market. We are doing them, and although they are a little bit different than our residential, they're set up very similar, and we underwrite them the same. So we are, and I talked earlier. I think this is one of the biggest gaps in the financing. Financing solar, in my opinion, is, and from just talking to folks like you and folks from across the Midwest here. I think this is the part that there's a gap, and we're trying to fill it. We're trying to do some of this project financing that these bigger players like Sunlight Financial or Mosaic are not willing to do.
I guess one thing that we should explain to folks is that size-wise, Decorah Bank and Trust, GreenPenny, we are a community bank. Now, we're a decent-sized community bank, but we're not a regional player of billions of dollars and such. Why is that okay for this particular need? It means that we don't approach things in a cookie-cutter way. It's not by equations and formulas. And so we are able to look at situation by situation and try to match up what is needed and requested with what we can do in a sound business way, approaching people one by one, not by some sort of box-like thing that a large bank would do.
Yeah. Both Jim and I know a little bit about that. We've worked at very, very large banks before. So we know about that. Tristan, if we didn't answer your question or you want to follow up with us, I see you there. Just let us know. We'd love to talk more to Sun Badger Solar. And
No, you guys did a fantastic job answering the
Okay.
question, and thank you for letting me ask it again, since I asked a similar version and bothered you on Tuesday about this. So thanks for allowing me to make it a little bit more pointed, because it's
Yeah.
a constant thorn in my side.
Okay. Well, we've heard this feedback, as Mike said, and we're open to talking more about, whether or not we need to carve out a particular product that is for small businesses that we could then raise awareness around and, advertise and talk more rate term kind of thing. We're open to talking about that. So if you have ideas, we'd love to hear them.
Well, I'm very excited to pass this on to the owners of the company, because
Okay.
we're working with Stearns Bank for commercial loans, and it was very much like only very large scale stuff.
Yeah.
And when the pandemic struck, they really pulled back a lot of their offerings for
Oh,
commercial.
okay. All right. That's good to know.
Hey, Mike, Jim, this is Zach with Illumin Solar in Chicago area. Hey, what like rates and terms do you see with those small commercial loans? Are there any like caveats? Any like, I guess, somewhat specific details on those?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. Yeah, they're going to be similar to what our residential is. Right now, like Jason said, we don't have a specific product that's carved out for commercial. We just kind of take it on a one, case by case basis. But what we're seeing, I mean, we're going to be competitive with the rate as long as everything works out with the underwriting process, and it's a fair risk for us. We're in the 4.5% to 5% range is what we've seen most of these loans go through as, and that's adjusted based on the risk that we see, credit scores, type of business and whatnot. But yeah, that's basically where we are. We're and I think we're from hearing about some of the other financials out there, I think we're in the ballpark. I think we're there. So.
All right. Yeah.
Jim, you said earlier for 720 plus scores, it's 4.45% for 12 years. Maybe I missed it. What was the rate for 660 to 719?
It's 5.45.
Thank you.
And I should add that both of those rates include a half a percentage point or a 50 basis point discount for automatic payments. We really want to have an automatic payment from the borrower, particularly given we're virtual. So we try to provide a pretty important carrot, I guess, if you will, to get an automatic payment.
And I would say that that's very standard for the industry.
Yeah, yeah, we think so too.
Quick question: is that 12 years? Is that the only option? I like.
No,
I don't really like 20-year. 12 years.
No,
cool.
It's up to 12. So yeah. If you want to do and actually, as Jim said, we're more typically seeing 6, 7, maybe even less, and particularly because folks have other incentives. I mean, in Illinois, as you know, there's obviously other credits that come into play, so folks can oftentimes pay them down quicker. And by the way, I personally agree with you. I think while the panels will last for 20, 25 years now, the economic argument for our borrower is you can have very close to no electrical payment or financing payment once you pay us off for several years and free up that capital to do other things in your life. And so so far we're sticking with that 12-year max duration, and when you go through the process of actually calculating the rate or the payment you'll have for financing it versus what you're paying today for utility payments, that duration roughly seems to make sense. Now, does that mean that it's an even trade in all cases? No. It might be that your finance payment is slightly higher than what you're paying now, or maybe even a bit higher, but you're willing to do that because you're going to pay it down hopefully quickly and then not have much of an electrical payment afterwards. So that's our philosophy too. We want it to make economic sense for our borrower.
I love that, because not everyone's going to be in their house for 20 years, and if you do a bunch of those deals, it puts your clients in a sticky situation that you'll probably have to deal with later, and it just can get messy.
I agree. We agree with that. So thanks for your feedback, Zach. Okay, other questions?
Okay, before we go on, I just want to circle back just a little bit with Tristan. We also list a few clean energy projects on greenpenny.com, and this is for anyone in the group to check out as well. So if you wanted to read a little bit about some of the commercial projects that we did, I think currently we have 4 projects And we're excited to add more in the future as well. So moving on to the next question, Michael Vickerman, thank you for your question. I love this one. Are you thinking about partnering with home builders to integrate solar into new residential development? There is a 30+ home subdivision in New Berlin that has solar on every rooftop. That rollout was organized by a property developer that partnered with an affiliated solar business. And he's seeing more PV systems popping up on brand new homes. Who would like to take that question? What do you think, Jim?
I'll take a stab at it. Honestly, I have not seen a subdivision build of this size in our area for decades. So I guess we haven't seen it. Now, would we be interested in it? Yeah, but it's not something that's been around in rural Iowa. So as we venture outside our little corner here, we are certainly wanting to learn more about this sort of thing. So how's that for a punt? Mike, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we have talked to a developer up in the Minneapolis area, on the north side of Minneapolis, about this this specific topic. I'm not sure where it's going to go. They've got a couple options they're looking at, whether it's put solar on the rooftops or you know, another means. There's actually like I think it's a sound barrier or something, but we have been in contact. You know, I'm not sure. We definitely, like Jim said, we're definitely interested. You know, it's a great way to get solar out there and get it on you know, every rooftop in a subdivision. It's a great way. So we're definitely interested, just haven't gotten there yet. We're not there yet. We haven't financed any deals like that.
The sound barrier thing that Mike just mentioned is very interesting. It's alongside one of those big busy interstates right up in the cities, and golly, what a great use of space to put solar on those big ugly fences there, you know, by the interstates.
Good. Yeah, I mean, you can see we're really open to all, Michael, of looking at all different things. We are also hearing feedback that, you know, a lot of customers prefer, and I think Jim, you said it too, to use home equity financing on for their residential program. And we don't currently have a product like that with greenpenny, but we're looking at it actively. And you know, so we expect that, you know, over time, I think we believe in the idea that it's going to take lots of different models in order to really make inroads in the space and finance a really significant you know, solar and renewable energy adoption in our markets. And we're not going to be the only player, certainly, we need other players to come in and do financing. So we're not going to be the only one, but we certainly are open to different models here, and we think it's going to take lots of different approaches in order to get it done.
We should also add that solar is not the only thing we're interested in either. I guess wind has pretty much migrated to the huge projects that are, you know, mid-America. Those folks tend to be doing, but geothermal is definitely on our radar, as well as electric vehicles, whether for consumer or businesses.
All right. Other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. As Mike said, you know, we've learned about the current issues with PPA financing in Wisconsin, but just to throw out there on the table, we have done quite a few deals with nonprofits, churches, school systems, a couple colleges, that have made tons of economic sense for people. So hopefully that will again be an option in Wisconsin. It does exist as option in Minnesota and Illinois, certainly in Iowa.
Yeah, and at the end, very end of the last session, that came up as a real big opportunity, how to get more solar onto the rooftops of nonprofits. And we're advocates for the PPA structure, and if there's things we can do to help have discussions with folks to, you know, explain why that works and why that model is important, we're happy to be part of those. Michael, I see you nodding your head, so just let us know, because we've got experience there that we're happy to share.
Well, that would be great, because I hope you can hear me
Yep,
fine.
we can hear you. Yep, you're coming in loud and clear.
Because we, in Wisconsin, because of the lack of clarity with respect to third-party financing of solar, we do see solar going on top of nonprofits, houses of worship, schools, et cetera, but it requires a fairly complicated workaround.
Mm-hmm.
A donation from a solar foundation. There's been the Couillard Solar Foundation has been absolutely marvelous with in their generosity, and their targeting mission-based nonprofits. But with the workaround comes high transactional costs, and some time with lawyers, and also you have to be a little careful with the utilities, and so a comparison of what has happened in Iowa since the Supreme Court ruling that allowed third-party financing to go forward there may come a time soon, I hope, where your experience would be on point in a public service commission proceeding on that.
Sure. Yep. We want to do our part, so
Okay.
and we'll talk to anybody about this.
Thank you.
You bet. Well, we have about 10 or so minutes to go. Are there any other comments or thoughts or questions out there? I don't see any in the chat.
Yeah, this is Zach again.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah, I'm excited about you guys. I want to say thank you just for the idea and coming to market. I think Tristan and I kind of share some of the same struggles with the traditional financiers and just kind of the headaches that can come along with them. I find myself telling, and I was telling Katrina this yesterday, with all the dealer fees with these, financing companies, I always tell my clients not to finance. And then, in looking out for the greater good for them, because they're getting, 15 to 20% dealer fees and rolled into these long terms. And then, at the end of the day, you're not deploying a lot of solar. We want to deploy a lot of solar at good rates and have it make sense. And to work with someone smaller and more custom, that's awesome. So thank you guys.
Well, that's great feedback. We really
haven't even worked with you yet, but excited about it.
Thank you. Try us out. We'll and you, if we don't live up to everything we're saying, you call me and let me know. I think we will, but you call me.
Cool.
All right. Yeah.
Well, and Jason, let me jump in. Yeah,
Yeah.
the questions that have arisen about small business lending, you got to realize too that as a traditional community bank, we've been small business lenders forever, since 1900 or something. I don't know. I mean, it's nothing new. This is just a different sort of small business lending, right? Yeah. We know a lot about underwriting small business. That's not a problem at all. It's a bread and butter thing for us and always has been.
In all these cases, when it comes to solar, I've heard, Zach, what you just said, that from a lot of installers, by the way, over the last couple of days, that they tell their customers not to finance. And in fact, one very candidly said that financiers are sleazy. And based on some of the terms and some of the things that we are hearing, we can certainly understand why that reputation exists. We want to be anything but that. And the reality is, if we're going to make as a community big inroads here and do what we need to do to get rapid adoption of clean energy, a lot of it's going to have to be financed because folks, whatever organization you're in, a small business, a nonprofit, certainly, or others, even residential folks, they want to use their capital maybe for other things like running their business, like doing their mission of educating a population or running a hospital or a city. And so they need capital to flow to allow them to continue they otherwise they won't do it. And that can't happen. That can't happen. We need to figure out a way that we can be good partners and offer economic terms that enable rapid adoption of solar. We're very mission oriented in that way. So End of lecture, I guess. Sorry. I got on my soapbox. Any other comments or questions from folks? Okay, well, hey, we just want to thank you all for joining us, and please reach out, give us feedback. I mean it, challenge us. We want to live up to everything we just said, and that's really important to us. Our reputation really matters, and so we welcome the conversations and hope they continue. We're going to be in our booth. In fact, I think Mike's going to be in the booth for the last hour of the conference from 3 to 4. So if you want to pop in and talk to Mike, I'm sure he'd love to talk to you. We've been busy in the booth, which has been great. And just thank you so much for allowing us to participate in the conference in Wisconsin. And I know, Michael, you have some closing thoughts for the group, but thanks very much, everybody.
Oh, yes, thanks so much, Jason, for your sponsorship of our summit. And what I want to make sure everybody knows, besides who sponsored our summit, and also expressing thanks to our talented speakers. While we hope to be connecting in person for our next summit, we would still love your feedback on our virtual event. We'll be emailing you shortly, or excuse me, we'll be emailing you with an evaluation tomorrow. Please let us know what we did right and how we can improve. We are grateful to you for spending time with us, for all you do to advance renewable energy in Wisconsin.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Thanks, Michael. Bye-bye.